Establishing and maintaining positive relationships among students. The biggest purpose in establishing those relationships among students and also with students and teachers is to build connections, to make sure that we try and help them see that we all have similarities or things in common at some point and that we all have differences as well. We want to reinforce the ideas that while we do all have those differences, that we can be respectful of those differences and that we can use those connections, the things that we have similarities in, to work towards a common good. So what we know about students who feel more connected to school through relationships is that the safety and security aspect is central to improved learning outcomes and academic success. When students feel more connected, then they have an increased trust in others and an increased ownership in the communities that they will work in, learn in, and eventually live in outside of our school system. And an increased positive climate and culture school-wide can be facilitated through building and establishing relationships. In San Angelo ISD, we believe in the importance of relationships as the core of success in creating lifelong learners. Let's look at just a few tools for building relationships quickly. So whether you are on a Capturing Kids Hearts campus or one that will be trained in the future, we do believe in social contracts as one way to establish norms in your classroom or agreements in your classroom of how your group of learners will interact with each other. So we want to take time to really flesh those out and really dig deep in setting those up, referring back to the language of our social contracts, and also making sure that we give feedback on those behaviors that will help to foster relationships with students. There are also team building activities, icebreakers, etc. Of course, spending time up front at the beginning of the year to create those connections. You can use icebreakers, get to know you activities. There are many ideas and resources on the Significant 72 website. You can Google Significant 72 and look for those activities for the classroom. There is a page full of resources for you. Sometimes when there are classroom issues, you could have structured problem-solving circles where you either have a carpet time, or if you're an older age group for middle school, high school, then you can have that idea of a circle where everyone is equal. You can bring an issue to that circle and have the classroom kind of discuss that in a structured way. Of course, if that's a minor issue, those are great things to do. Other thoughts to facilitate relationships are to provide sentence stems or prompts for collaborative learning groups. So when we put students in collaborative learning groups, whether it's just with discussing with a partner or having a larger group, we can't always assume that they have the skills necessary to be able to have those conversations, especially the difficult conversations where they don't agree with the other people with whom they're discussing or collaborating with. So providing some sentence stems or prompts for that is a great way to help facilitate their skill building in that area. Building off the collaborative piece, we want to make sure that we are intentionally grouping our students. The best thing to do is have a variety of ways to group students for those collaborative conversations and work, whether it's partners, whether it's a group of 4 or larger. Letting the students decide their groups is great every now and then. However, we want to make sure that we're intentionally structuring those also in a way to make sure that students feel safe and we're not setting them up for failure. We want to make sure we stretch students and challenge them to interact with others who are not always just like them. At the same time, we want to give them a way to provide feedback, maybe an anonymous way to let you know if there is somebody that they're having a conflict with, that it might not be best to put them in a group with that week. So asking them at an age-appropriate way and giving them some way to let you know and honoring that. Of course, one of the best ways that we teach others is by modeling, and you as a teacher or as a staff member want to model those appropriate relationships with students. And the best way to define appropriate, briefly, is just having very high academic and behavioral expectations met with high support through your teaching of those skills, and really looking at these relationship skills just like you would an academic skill. So modeling those respectful interactions using humor, but limiting sarcasm and teasing, making sure that they feel connected at all times. When conflicts arise in the classroom or on campus, there are a few things that you can do to remember in helping to resolve those conflicts. You want to make sure that the student or students involved have some time to cool off. Working through things in the moment is not always the best. When you can, listen to students one at a time. Let them share as you listen and check for understanding. Encourage them to take responsibility. If they're able, if they're old enough or in the right frame of mind, you can ask open-ended questions such as, what could you have done differently, or what are you willing to do next time? You want to allow them or help them and encourage them to brainstorm solutions. So getting them to think flexibly, see that there was more than one way to the situation when they can. And if they're not able to do that, then you can look at it as an opportunity to build skills and teach them some alternate solutions to the situation. Help them maybe work through those, see what the consequences of each of those ideas is, and then allow them to choose what works best for them. So affirming them for the small steps that you see that they did well, allowing them, again, if they're able, dependent on age and dependent on their frame of mind, to repair the situation, offer any apologies, make amends, etc. And then offering to follow back up with them, letting them know that you are there to support them in the future if they need help in this instance again. So for other ideas, you want to look for your colleagues, look towards your colleagues, rather, your campus counselor and others from your campus administrative team. They will have many ways and ideas for you to build relationships and facilitate those relationships among your students in your classroom to set them up for success. Thank you.